Welcome to the Voter Interest Project's candidate interviews for 2023. I'm Alan McPheeters, the Executive Director of the Voter Interest Project. Our mission is to provide voters with the information they need to make informed decisions about government, candidates, and ballot measures. Our focus is local. We cover Island County, its cities and towns, and various special districts, as well as the representatives from the 10th Legislative District. The 2023 elections are local and nonpartisan. We are covering 44 elective offices on this year's ballot, including mayors, city councilors, school board directors, and commissioners for hospital, port, fire, parks, and cemetery districts. 67 candidates filed for these offices during filing week in May, and we've invited all of them to do interviews for you. We also have extensive coverage of these elections and the actions of these government agencies on our website, voterinterests.com. The following interview is with Stephen Hendrickson, one of two candidates for Stanwood-Camano School District Director, position 4. We provided a list of potential questions to the candidate in advance of the interview. Well, good evening. Today is Thursday, August 31st, and we're here with Steve Hendrickson, who is running for Stanwood-Camano School District Director, position number 4. Steve, welcome to the Voter Interest Project.
Good evening. How are you doing tonight?
Great, thank you. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good. And where are you today? Looks like you're outside your home?
I am outside my house in the Cedar Home area of Stanwood. Yep.
Great.
Chose to do it out here because it's a nice evening, and sometimes it can be quieter outside than inside at my place. I chose this.
Very good. Well, and it looks like a beautiful place to be, so that sounds great.
Yeah.
Let's start with a little biographical stuff, just to set the stage so people get to know who you are. Are you married or single?
I am married. My wife and I have been married for 14 years and been together for 20.
Very good. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you have children?
I have 4 children. Our oldest is out of the house. He's down in California. He's serving at 29 Palms in the Marine Corps.
Oh, very good.
My next oldest is 13 years old, and then I have an 11-year-old, and then our daughter is 8.
Very good. What a great range.
Yeah.
Now, did you grow up in the Stanwood area, or did you move there? How did you come to be where you are?
So we kind of moved all over when we were kids. Originally from California, so I went to elementary school in Bakersfield and then Fresno. Moved up here in 6th grade, and which was odd, made that transition from I was kind of the king of the elementary school down there, and then moved up here, and I was the low man on the totem pole because they have the 6th through 8th here. And we moved out to Monroe, and then to Lake Stevens is where I graduated from, and then I went into the Marine Corps after I graduated from high school. And when I was gone in the Marine Corps, my parents moved out to Camano Island. So when I got out, I followed them because I needed a place to live. So, and just kind of stuck around here. So my wife and I lived in Lake Ketchum, and then we bought our house in Kiley Park, and then moved over here onto some property in, it's probably 5-6 years ago now.
Outstanding. Very good. And so you said you graduated from Lake Stevens High School.
Yes.
Then did you go from high school right into the service?
Pretty much. It was about a year. I took about a year off. I did commercial roofing. I was a delivery driver for a glass company, and decided to go into the Marine Corps after that.
We have, of course, here on Oak Harbor, we have lots of people in the service, mostly in the Navy, but I'm always interested in what made you decide the Marine Corps was the branch you wanted to serve
in. My dad was in the Marine Corps. My mom was in the Navy. So I kind of grew up with that structure to begin with.
Sure.
And I just always kind of had the idea ever since I was younger that if I was going to do it, I was going to join the best service. So I went to the Marine Corps.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Very good. Now, since you've left the Marine Corps, what kind of work are you doing now?
So when I got out, I was planning on taking some time off and just kind of relaxing, and realized that I'm not the kind of person to do that. So I jumped right into trying to find a job, and I started calling around. Decided that I wanted a trade. I wanted a license to trade,
Sure.
something that was protected by a trade license. So the first place I called was they weren't advertising, but I called a plumbing company here in Stanwood and went for an interview that afternoon, and kind of got the, just old school, kind of got the phone call. Hey, if you want to show up tomorrow with some work boots and a lunch, then you have a job and we'll see how it goes. And I worked there for 10 years.
Wow.
So I earned my journeyman license there, my residential license, and then my journeyman license. And then uh, I went up and worked at CPI up in Mount Vernon for a few years.
Mhm.
And then my daughter was born, and we there was some issues at birth, and uh, that made me realize that money and working is not necessarily the most important thing. Like, it provides nice stuff, but um, it changes your outlook when you don't necessarily know how long certain people are going to be in your life. So you want to spend more time, and you want to make sure that you're around. So uh,
Absolutely.
I changed my kind of changed my career path. I got out of the service work and doing um, contractor work, that type of stuff. And I actually got a job at the Stanwood-Camano School District in the maintenance department.
Very good.
And yeah, so I worked there for, I think I was there for 4 years. And then I left and I went down to Lake Stevens, and I work at the Lake Stevens School District right now.
I think that's really interesting that because you're coming at this position from a fairly unusual direction. You hear
Yes.
a lot of school board candidates who are working like that within the school district. Of course, you couldn't work for the Stanwood-Camano School District and be a director. We
Yeah.
did an interview with there's a candidate here in Oak Harbor who's running for a school board position here. He lives in Oak Harbor. He actually works for the Coopville School District. So
Okay.
it's fine. But what made you decide that you wanted to run for the school board then?
So with my background, my experience of working at the school district, working in the community, I routinely would go into people's houses. So and community members, and talk to them, and then working at the school district. Uh, I I think that the school board is, or not the school board. I think that the school district as a whole, not necessarily individual people, but the school district as a whole, I think is kind of out of touch with just the general population. Um, so that's one of my main reasons. Uh, I think that they're kind of out of touch on what just the the general population, the typical Stanwood Camano um, citizen is really looking for. Um, I so that's what's kind of getting me there. That and my personal experiences
So is there
with the school district, with having worked there.
something specific you have in mind of policies that they're running or something like that?
With coming at it from my direction, one of my focuses would probably be the maintenance of the current facilities that we have.
Right.
I think personally that it's lacking.
Mhm.
Uh, it's a funding issue, it's a priority issue, but uh, I think that we need to show the public that we are willing to take care of the facilities that we have,
Mhm.
to the best of our ability, without having to allow them to fall in disrepair to the point where we have to uh, ask for ask for bonds. Um, and yeah, we need to show the public that we're willing to take care of the public's facilities. And I don't think that I don't think that that's happening. I don't think that that's evident. And I think that's why we've had some failures here lately with um, on the ballot.
Interesting. What I find that really interesting because, with the project, we monitor 4 school districts: Stanwood-Camano, Oak Harbor, Coopville, and South Whidbey. South Whidbey's running a bond measure this fall to try to do some capital improvements in their buildings. And they put it on the ballot in April 22. It failed. And one of the school directors there, he was appointed recently, and now he's running to retain his seat. He's unopposed. Wrote an op-ed in the Whidbey News Times in which he said, there's a little girl, I don't know what age she was, going across the courtyard, and she tripped and broke her ankle on cobblestones, I guess, or brickwork or something. And he saw her later, I guess, and she said, "So are they going to fix this now?" Because she had thought that the measure had passed. And he said, "No, not enough people, not enough adults in the community thought it was important to repair the facilities and keep you safe." Which strikes me as just a terrible thing for a director to say to a child. But
Yes,
it also
that's
kind of misses the
yeah.
point. I think to what you're speaking of, he's pushing the bond measure, but what he's talking about there is really basic maintenance, right?
That's my opinion. That's where I would come from with it. It's there's basic maintenance type of things. There's stuff that has a useful life that we're aware
Right.
of, and that type of stuff needs to be budgeted for. In my opinion, you can't really rely on just going out for bond measures for basic maintenance type of things. Um, you know, basic repairs. That would, there's emergency type stuff that comes up that messes up the budget, and I get that.
Hmm.
But there's also stuff that just needs to be planned for, and I think the planning for it is lacking, at least from the outside looking in. That's what it appears to be, and it's not just my opinion, and I hear it from a lot a lot of people around Stanwood, that the schools seem to be falling into disrepair, and that would be a focus of mine because I'm a firm believer that you need to take care of what you have before you start asking for more.
Sure. You do the regular schoolwork before you ask for extra credit.
Yeah. Yes.
So is that your sense of, I mean, I was very odd last year that the district ran their bond measure in February, and when it failed, they turned around without making any changes at all and ran it again in April. And is that your sense of why it didn't pass either time? Because people don't feel like they're getting the job done?
That and trust. Um, I I think that there's a trust issue. I'm not positive off the top of my head. I did, like I said earlier, I didn't I didn't make notes and stuff like that. Just kind of having a conversation.
Sure.
I believe that it did worse the second time around. Am I correct? Do you know off
That
the
is
top of
correct.
your head? Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's right.
yeah, and I believe that that's because of the trust, and it kind of felt more like, and this is actual feedback that I've gotten from people. Uh, they voted yes the first go around and voted no the second go around because of the feeling that they got when the district just ran it again on the next ballot without changing anything
Mhm.
was more of a hope that just less people would be involved and
Mm.
they would be able to just kind of sneak it through. That's the feeling that people had.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
I think it comes down to trust and just and communicating with the community is a big part of it. There's um, you know, it goes into a whole bunch of different things as far as like the, with the communication stuff like that. Another thing that I would like to see happen is, and that if if elected to the school board, would be an initial push for me,
Mhm.
would be to move the the meeting at 1 o'clock in the afternoon that the school board has to a time in the evening when people that are actually vested in the system have the opportunity to show up.
Yes.
A 1 o'clock in the afternoon board meeting is not okay in my book. Like it just, I don't know if there's some internal reason as to why they do it, or I don't, I'm being honest, I don't know the history behind it, but I do know that Stanwood has grown a lot. Um, Most people have to commute out of this uh, community to go to work,
Right.
and the meetings should be later in the afternoon or in the evening, so more people can participate. The Stanwood-Camano School District is one of the largest, or if not the largest, employer in the Stanwood-Camano area,
Sure.
and the people that would have an opinion on what's taking place don't have the ability to show up and say anything because they're at the schools working.
Yeah.
So that just doesn't seem right to me.
Yeah. We've had issues like that with the public hospital district here on Whidbey. Their monthly meetings are at noon.
Yes.
They never have people show up for them. It's
Yeah.
hard to get to a noon meeting.
Yes. It seems to be the go-to around here.
Yeah.
They do the same thing at the city level with the committees and stuff like that. So yeah. Um, and then something else in line with that is something that I've seen when I moved down to Lake Stevens and started working down there, which I think is a brilliant idea, especially for uh, our large geographical area for this school district. It's a very large school district with having to go all the way down to Elger Bay and stuff.
Right.
Is one of their meetings every month rotates through the schools. So, say in January, one of the meetings would be at the district office, the other meeting would be out at Elger Bay,
Right.
which brings in families from that area, because you're going to be hard pressed uh, to get families to drive up from the south end of the island to come up and sit in the boardroom at the district office in Stanwood. So I don't think it would be as diverse at each meeting. You're probably not going to get people from the high school or families from the high school driving down to that board meeting, but it's inviting those people in and making it easier for them, and then they feel like they're being heard, and we can get feedback, and it builds that trust between the district and the board and the community, to where we would have better luck with bonds and levies, and people can ask questions and understand why things are being done the way that they are.
Right. That completely makes sense. I used to be the legislative district chairman of the Republican Party down in the Linwood, Mukilteo, Edmonds area. And when you're running a party like that, one of your jobs every 4 years is to run precinct caucuses. My predecessor had done them all at one of the high schools in Mukilteo, Kamiak High School. And what I noticed is that the further away you got from Kamiak High School, your precinct, the less people showed up for that caucus.
Yes.
We broke it up and held our caucuses at 4 separate locations and had pretty good turnout. Very similar to what I think you're talking about. I think you're on the money with that. Is there, so clearly facilities is a concern of yours. Are there other parts of the stuff that school boards have to keep an eye on that are of particular interest to you, like a curriculum or budgets or things like that?
Yes, there is. So I had mentioned my daughter earlier.
Hmm.
So my daughter suffered a brain injury when she was born.
Okay.
Uh, she is quadriplegic and utilizes a feeding tube. She's going into third grade, and she has been in the preschool program. Um, she started off in the preschool program in Stanwood and has gone through to elementary school. And she, as far as we're concerned, she will go through all the way up through high school. Um, I I feel like kids like her are kind of put into they're put onto the back burner.
Yeah.
Um, kind of uh, put back into a corner and tucked away from the other kids. Which um, there's two ways to look at it, in my opinion. There's a big push with the school district for inclusion,
Right.
which is great. Inclusion means different things for different people, and it's not a one size fits all. Uh, what really spurred me to get involved with this and put my name on the ballot was the fact that they are pushing inclusion for kids like my daughter, and talking about uh, you know full time in a gen ed classroom and stuff like that. And my daughter's nonverbal. You know, she uh, she's she's highly affected um,
Okay.
with her brain injury. Uh, so when this was starting to be discussed, it wasn't really discussed with the stakeholders, with the parents. Um, they started holding these meetings at night. They had, I want to say there was three of them last school year, and they were not advertised well. And when we went in and started sitting down for these meetings, like it was not it was not a meeting where they were asking opinions or trying to get feedback. It felt as though it was just pretty much a this is what's happening,
Right.
and uh, and you kind of just need to be okay with it. And yes, everybody inclusion looks different for everybody, and we'll work with everybody and different IEPs and stuff like that. But when it came down to specifics and questions on how this is going to affect us, how this is going to affect our daughter, there was not really anything there.
Mm.
It was more of just a that'll come down the road. We'll discuss that down the road. Well, now we're here and school starts in what 4 days, I think 4 days, 5 days, something like that.
Yeah.
We still don't have any kind of idea on what this is going to look like.
Right.
School shows up or summer shows up and it was kind of just radio silence. Um, they were trying to they shuffled a bunch of kids around this summer because of redistricting and stuff like that, which is understandable, and you're gonna frustrate a lot of people with that. But the kids that are going to be the most affected are not their families are not getting the information that they need.
Yeah.
Um, you're taking kids that are like on the autism spectrum, and they're affected, and they have their set schedule, and they thrive on that. And you talk to these parents, and they're doing so good, and the parents are so excited about how much improvement they've made, and they're taking them and they're like just switching schools next year.
Really pulling the rug out from underneath those parents.
Yeah,
Yankees.
yeah. So they're taking these kids, and they just they're shipping them off to other elementary schools. It's not like they're moving up. They're just switching elementary schools, and like that can be a really really big drawback,
Sure.
setback for some of these kids. Um, and so a lot of parents just feel like they were not heard in that process. Um,
You know,
and it kind of goes, and it's across the board. Even gen ed students and stuff like that too. I hear from their parents also, but that's my most recent direct experience with just the feeling like we're not being heard.
Right. Now, I should probably interject here. Gen Ed would be general education.
Yes, yeah, general education. Yes.
Okay. I sense that there's a pattern here. In fact, you had been so kind to send me the link to your Facebook page, and so I was looking at that, and you mentioned that your daughter's in a program that goes by the acronym ASSIST.
Yes.
Well, I wonder what that is. So I did a little Googling, and one of the things I came across was, I think it was a story from the Stanwood-Camano News saying, and this is from 2016, they had been running that program out of two separate schools, but at that time they were consolidating it down to one.
Yes.
And possibly with the, and I know it's one story, I don't have a lot of detail on it, I don't know what was going on, but it sounds similar to what you're going through, and the other things that you've described sound like a school district, can't necessarily say the board specifically, but a school district that does things for its convenience instead of the convenience of the population that it's trying to serve. Is that too harsh?
Not in my opinion.
Okay.
With not in my opinion with the experiences that we have had previously.
Sure.
And it's not a knock on the whole school or the whole school district or anything like that. Like, I will tell you, we fought hard. So um my daughter, the preschool program is down at Stanwood Elementary, which is maybe, it's maybe 3-4 miles from our house. It's not that far. The Stanwood area is pretty small to begin with.
Yeah.
We're not out in Warm Beach or anything like that. So it's not too far away. We drive right past another elementary school to get there for the preschool, which is understandable. There's the a preschool for a district this size should be in one location. It makes sense,
Yeah.
logistically. Um, when she went to uh, when she went to elementary school, she gets bused from our house in the Cedar Home area out to Utsalati,
Right.
so at the north end of Camano,
Mhm.
because uh, that's where the program was. With the redistricting, they were trying to take my daughter and move her into a school in Stanwood, over to Twin City, uh, which again we would be driving past another elementary school to get there.
Right.
Um, but we fought to keep our daughter out at Utsalati. So um, it's the convenience thing um, is not the most important, because for her going out there, it takes more time when my wife has to go pick her up to go to therapies and stuff like that. It adds another half hour, 20 minutes, half an hour to the whole process, but it's worth it because the the program out there and the staff members, they know my daughter, and she's been growing up around them, and we care about them deeply because we understand that they care deeply about our daughter. So it's not, I it's a I think it's an institutional thing of trying to make it more convenient. It's not a people thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I don't have we don't have anything. It's not a gripe with the people. It's a gripe with the system.
Yeah.
That's what I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Fair enough. Well, one way or the other, it's going to be different next year because we've had a fairly stable school board at Stanwood-Camano for a while.
Yeah.
I do a little elections research, as you can imagine, and there's been plenty of these people who had been there for many, many years or who have run unopposed for quite a while. To have 3 competitive races there, one that was in the primary is kind of a big deal. And so we know that of those 3 races, at least 2 are going to have completely new faces, and maybe 3,
Yes.
which will really shake things up. So, but I see my timer is telling me we're down to just a little bit of time, so we probably ought to
I
wrap.
know, yeah.
Really interesting, though. I really appreciate your taking the time, because this is not the kind of perspective that I hear from most of the other candidates around the county, not just in your district. So I'm glad that we had a chance to talk. If people want to know more about you and your campaign and what you'd like to do with the school district, what's the best way for them to find out? Facebook or website or email, or how should people find out more about you?
So I lost probably about the last 30 seconds of that.
Oh, no worries.
Uh,
So if
yeah.
if people want to know more about you and your campaign and what you'd like to do at the school district, what's the best way for them to get hold of you? So Facebook or your
Uh,
website, or I think you might have frozen again. Steve, can you hear me? We'll give Steve a second to see if he reconnects. Steve, can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh,
Probably
okay.
move to turn off your camera. That's a
Yeah, I don't know what's going on because I'm showing that I have good service and good bars on my Wi-Fi and everything. So, yeah, not exactly sure what's going on.
no worries. No worries. We're close to the end anyway. But if people want to find out more about you and your campaign and what you'd like to do at the school district, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you? Is it your Facebook page or your website or email?
Oh, probably my well, the Facebook page that I have is um, Steve Hendrickson for school board.
Okay.
It should be pretty easy it should come right up if you just search for that. My email is Steve at HendricksonHomestead.com. And I'm totally fine if people send me.
Uh-oh. Steve, we lost your audio there. People perfectly fine if people send you. There you go.
Are you there? I jumped back in the house to see if maybe that helps a little bit.
Sure.
That's a really bad. Ooh, okay.
Oh no. Well, we'll see if Steve can reconnect. I still see him in the meeting, but he's frozen. So that we'll make sure that we put Steve's Facebook page and the email address on the YouTube description. And there he is. Okay. So I did get Steve. I got your Facebook page and your email address. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay.
So I got your email address and your Facebook page, and we will put those in the description on YouTube and on the post on the website, so that people have a good way to get a hold of you. We'll just put in links right there. So
Okay.
all right. Well, we'll let this go then. Thank you so much for taking the time, and good luck in your campaign.
Yeah, thank you very much for the invite. I had a good time tonight, but yeah, there's good conversation. So thank you.
So too. Thank you. Take care.
All right, you too.
Bye. Well, thank you for watching our interview with Steve Hendrickson, who is running for Director Position 4 at the Stanwood-Camano School District. We invite you to subscribe to our newsletter, available in 4 local editions: Camano Island, North Whidbey, Central Whidbey, and South Whidbey. The newsletter arrives at your mailbox every Monday morning with news and events from your part of Island County. Subscribe to our newsletter at voterinterests.com/subscribe. And look for more of these candidate interviews as the election season continues. Thank you and good night.